Mako, located at SeaWorld Orlando, is known as one of, if not the best hypercoasters in the world. It opened in 2016 and is just a fantastic ride, so what I'll be doing in today's video is my full review on it. It is located at my home park, and man, I do love it. And for now, just before Iron Gwazi opens, it is my favorite coaster in Florida. For sure, the best coaster in the park, and will be for a while. I would expect it to be that because this coaster is just so fun. It's filled with major flow ejector because every moment of airtime on this coaster is very strong, except maybe one, which is very average. So man, this is a fantastic coaster, and that's very hard to beat in my opinion because I ride it all the time as it being at one of my home parks. But most importantly, before we start, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe for more videos on coasters often. Also, if you want to see more, make sure to follow our social media pages for updates and much more. So that is out of the way, let's look at the stats. To start out, it is 200 feet tall, hitting the hypercoaster level exactly, so you would expect it's not the tallest hyper, but that means nothing as it is the best hyper. But then the speed is very solid. It goes 73 miles per hour. It has no inversions naturally for being a B&M hyper, and finally a very long track length of 4,760. But even though it has a track length that long, it is not the longest ride. You feel like it's over very quickly, but it does pack in a lot of elements in the ride course, such as mostly the airtime and some bank turns throughout, but that means it never gets old. You can ride this thing all day, like marathoning it is the thing to do because it's smooth and just so re-rideable. Getting to the smoothness, it is for sure very smooth, but out of all my rides, I have started to notice some bit of a slight, and I mean slight, B&M rattle. But the good thing is that it is only at the bottom of the first drop, so the rest of the ride is butter. It is so smooth. It's not the smoothest coaster I've ridden, but it is like the best in the park on how smooth it is. Now, as you walk up to this ride, you will notice this whole nice entry plaza with the coaster wrapping around it, and as you can tell by this footage, it just looks so incredible. I am so lucky to have a coaster that looks so good on my home park, especially with that color scheme is one of the best out there. That blue and purplish colors really pop and really do go good with the theme of the Mako shark. Of course, there's also some theming around the ride, such as the main entry area. Those are like some shipwrecks. The theme of the flow of the water just adds to the theming very nicely, with also the coaster mainly being set by the water that just makes it look that much better. So you walk under the entry sign that just looks so fantastic, by the way, and make your way through the queue, which also does give you some views of the coaster. Normally, since this is SeaWorld, this coaster does not get much lines most of the time. Like the rides such as Manta and Journey to Atlantis get way longer lines, so that just makes it that much easier to re-ride this thing, and which you can definitely do a lot. But you'll enter that great looking station, which they do is just like pointing out there's those TVs that are really cool, showing like how many seats are cleared and how long the time in the station it has been. It really helps because all the time Mako's operations are pretty much always the fastest they can go, with about a minute dispatch time and running 2 trains all the time. Next, you will board the trains. These are your standard B&M clamshell restraints, very comfortable, like all hypers have. These trains, of course, do look very good, but you will leave this station, and what's really cool is most of the time it kind of died down a little, but right above you is screens with sharks that just swim with you while you leave, which is just really interesting and very cool. I've always loved that effect. Also with the music that's definitely there in parts of the ride, such as the lift hill and end turn section is really cool, but you will slightly bank to your right and go up that lift hill, giving you great views of Orlando all around. It's the tallest and fastest coaster in Orlando for a reason. You will go down that drop. This is a fantastic drop, especially in the back. It's incredible. You will fly out of your seat in the back if you give yourself room, of course. If you don't give yourself room, it's still a really good drop, but just not as good as it would be if you do give yourself room. But you will zoom by the water into that first big turn. It is a really steep and super fun. Definitely a great first element, but does not deliver any airtime. But let me tell you, the rest of the ride is filled with airtime, such as the strongest airtime on this ride. That is the next element. It is the biggest airtime hill and delivers the best airtime, but that could easily be debatable because there's also some other great airtime moments on this coaster. But the next element is this hammerhead turn. It's kind of funny because this is a hammerhead turn when the coaster is named Mako. Just something to point out, but all jokes aside, this is a very fun turn. It's not the best, but it's probably one of the best V&M Hyper turnarounds out there. But next is 3 back-to-back airtime hills that deliver some incredible floater airtime. The third one, some flojector also, such as the first standard hill. For some reason, even though it is trimmed, it has some great airtime. I could almost say the trims help it because it gives some longer floater, and man, it is strong. But then it's probably the weakest out of the 3, but it still is not a letdown. You will find these kind of airtime hills mostly on the other coasters and way bigger scaled, but it is smaller here, and I would definitely probably say it's better than the big ones. You will come back down into the speed hill that of course has great flojector and probably the most unique hill because I have actually not ridden a hyper with airtime like this. But then you will come back up into the mid-course brake run, and I would say this is a good thing because first of all, it does not really slow you down, and in the back coming off it you get some great ejector airtime. Then is, of course, another airtime hill. Then you will glide up into some turns around the entry area. Then over the water, that is really cool. Like if you sit on the far left side, it feels like every time you could touch the water. But then ending out the ride, you come into the brakes, ending your experience on Mako. And man, I love this coaster so much. It is and will be for a long time the best coaster in Orlando, I would expect. And just a great coaster. And for sure, its overall score, it'll get a 10. The reason of this is that it's just so fun, and that's the main factor, that it's just such a great coaster. So what do you think of Mako at SeaWorld Orlando? Make sure to post that in the comments below, and of course make sure to subscribe for more videos like this often. And see ya!